Hi gentlemen, in this video we're going to review the practice test for the first competition in geometry of the Catholic Math League. If you have any questions about anything I do on this video or just any questions in general, please feel free to message me via the portal. Okay, let's get started by reading the directions on the first page. So our directions say, complete as many problems as you can in the 30 minutes allotted to you. You'll have scratch paper that you could work on in addition to the questions for the test, but all of your answers will be shaded into a multiple choice answer sheet. No calculators are allowed. And for our geometry problems, they tell us that figures are not drawn to scale. Do not assume any pair of line segments are congruent or parallel or perpendicular unless you're specifically told so, unless it's specifically stated. However, you may assume all lines that appear to be straight are straight. You can use 3.14 for pi when necessary, but we'll see in a lot of our problems, pi is part of the answer, and we do not have to make any substitution. In the first problem here, we're asked to find the perimeter of the figure given. Now, you could take the figure as given and just go around the edges here to do this problem. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the rectangle here. I need to have my pen on. I'm going to look at the rectangle. Whoops, we went back one page. And I know I have this piece cut out over here, but for the outer rectangle here, I have a width of 10 and a width of 10. Now this long side here is going to be made up of 8 plus the 5 plus the 4. So this side is 17 and that side's 17. However, since this figure is cut out here, we have to also consider the extra step here of a piece 3 and a piece of length 3 here. So I'll take my perimeter by doing 2 times 17 plus 2 times 10, and then really 2 times 3, giving us a 34 plus a 20 plus a 6. So I can see that I have 54 plus 6, or 60. I usually don't like to look at the choices that are given to me in a multiple choice. I like to do the problem first and then find my answer. Okay, continuing on this next page, I have 2 problems, but let's look at them one at a time. Let's look at question number 2. Whoops, switch me back again. And make sure I'm a pen. Let's look at question number 2. Question number 2, read the whole question. If the area of a circle is 36 pi, find their circumference. So we're looking for the circumference, but we're being given the area. Those are 2 formulas that we should know. The area of a circle is equal to pi r squared. The circumference of a circle, which is how we're going to answer this problem, is equal to 2 pi r, where r is the radius. Now let's use the given information. This circle has an area of 36 pi. So I'm going to replace A with 36 pi. And now I have an equation with one unknown. Remember, pi is a constant. I could divide by pi on both sides. And now I have r squared is equal to 36. I'll take the square root, but only the principal square root, the positive square root. Actually, the solutions to this equation are -6 and +6, but I only want the positive answer because it wouldn't make sense to have a -6 radius. Now I'm going to answer the question asked. What is the circumference? The circumference is 2 pi times the value that I have for r, which is 6, so the answer is 12 pi. And this would be some linear unit, one-dimensional unit. 12 pi is C, so I'll circle that for my answer. Moving on, number 3. I see some angles there. given that EF is perpendicular to FH. So we know right away that's telling us we have a right angle. A right angle measures 90 degrees. We have angle EFG is 17x. And we have GFH is 13x degrees. Because we have a right angle, we know that the measure of the right angle is 90 degrees. So that 17x plus 13x must equal 90. Yes, it's all degrees. 30x is equal to 90. So x is equal to 3. Let's look at the question being asked. Find the value of x. So we could stop here. X equals 3. B is our answer. Sometimes the problem asks us to do something with x once we found it. But in this case, we're done. Let's move on to problem 4. In problem 4, we have this figure drawn. And in the figure, oops, I keep doing that. In the figure here, we have angle 3, and then we have our straight line. Angle 1 is here, and angle 2 is here. I'm feeling some vertical angles coming on. I'm going to label D here, D degrees here for angle 1. Measure of angle 2 is 50 degrees, so I'll write that in here. And the measure of angle 3 is 80 degrees. I know the sum of all the angles in our triangle must add up to 180. But let me also write in here what else I know. Since this angle 2 is 50 degrees, its vertical angle is also 50 degrees. And I also know that we have a straight line here. So this angle in here is 180 minus D. That's this angle in here. So adding 180 minus D plus 80 plus 50 is equal to 180. I could have used the theorem here and done this a little more quickly, but I could subtract 180 from each side. Simplify, negative D plus 130 is equal to 0. So D must equal 130 degrees. Let's see what they were asking me to do. They were asking me to find D, so I stop there. I look and I see that E is my answer. Take a moment and look at the work that we've done using the fact that the sum of the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. Now let's move on to question number 5. Question number 5 asks, which fraction has the smallest value? In a problem like this, I might have to consider every single answer before I'm sure which is the smallest. The diagram that I'm given here, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. My lines aren't straight, but I have 3 here and I have 91 degrees here. I'm going to switch my color here just to make this a little clearer. So I have a straight line. Since I have 3 and 91 as supplementary angles, that must mean that angle 3 is 89. So angle 2 is 89 degrees by vertical angles or also by supplementary angles, and angle 1 is 91 degrees. Okay, so what am I looking at? I'm not going to do all the addition. I'm just going to write underneath here. Angle 1 would be 91 plus 91 over 2. So I know this is 91 because it's the average of the two numbers. Measure of angle 3. Measure of angle 3 is supplementary to 91. So this is going to be 180 over 2. or 90. So this is smaller so far. If I add up all the angles, I don't really have to add them up. I know that that's 360 degrees going all the way around. So that's 90. So these two are tied, so I have a feeling that there's only one answer, so that can't be it. Now measure of angle 1 and measure of angle 3 are 180. So I have 180 plus 91 over 3. Measure of angle 1 plus measure of angle 2 is 180 plus 89. Without doing the math, I could see that 180 plus 91 has to be bigger than 180 plus 89. And if I'm dividing by 3, my answer has to be less than 90. So this is my choice. Why does it have to be less than 90? I have 90 plus something smaller than 90 divided by 3. My answer has to be less than 90. So without a calculator, without actually finding the value, I know it's smaller than all the values that are given to me before that. So the answer is E. Now remember, you could pause these videos at any time and go back and look at the work. Okay, let's read what's given to us in question 6. L1 and L2 are parallel lines. L2 is perpendicular to L3. So I'm going to draw a diagram for this. Each line lies in the same plane. So I could draw this on my paper. That's a plane. And then I have to look at the choices that they give us here to see which one of them is true. Because it says then, T-H-E-N. What must be a consequence of what they gave us here? So here are my parallel lines, L1, L1, L2, and L2 is perpendicular to L3. So if I cut this as a transversal here, I'm looking at L3. If this is perpendicular here, we know because of parallel lines that we have perpendicular lines here. So L1 is perpendicular to L3. I'm going to look for that one. Not going to spend a lot of time looking at the other choices because I know this is true and only one of these can be true as a consequence of what's given. For number 7, we have a figure given, and we're told that x is the midpoint of yz. So x is the midpoint of yz. And they happen to tell us that 0 is over here, so that we know that y must be a negative value. If x is the midpoint of yz, and we're told that y has a value of -10, and z has a value of 20, then the midpoint formula says that we're going to add -10 and 20 and divide them by 2, so take their average. So x must have a value of 10 over 2 or 5. So x is 5, but that's not what they're asking. So I'm going to show the 5 here. They want us to find the length of xy. So they want us to find this length here. We could see that it's 10 plus 5, so xy has a length of 15. So E is our answer. They weren't looking just for x. We had to go a step further. Okay, so we're going to do another video for the rest of these problems. I'm taking more time than you probably would take when you do the actual test, just to go over these problems, make yourself familiar with these problems, and then you'll be working more quickly on the test. See you next time for starting at problem number 8.